Remember how for years we were saying, the New South Wales government is rife with corruption? Because if you don't remember, that's okay. It really was a secondary message to our main aim of finding Joseph Kennedy! Carmen Sandiego if she was a black man. For years, the press completely ignored even the most blatant of evidence, or if they did acknowledge it, it was to dismiss the evidence as a conspiracy theory, even when the Premier had to step down because of an investigation with ICAC involving tens of millions of dollars. Tonight on 9, falling in love. It happens to the worst of us, and it happens to the best of us. Ah! No, it's a fake gun. I mean, after all, we're not in America, are we? Can I have Jim Jeffries' show now? I've discovered something truly amazing. Raid Shadow Legends is currently offering a 2-for-1 discount. And no, we haven't agreed to a sponsorship with them yet. Depends on if you sign up to Patreon, because this is a public service we're delivering here, okay? It's as useful, if not more so, than aged care workers, as their patients are just gonna die anyway. So come on, this channel gets results. We get governments to step down and get elected. Yep. That's right, it was all us. It had nothing to do with bushfires. It was us sitting there commenting on the bushfires. Oh, bro, Gladys's response is cringe as fuck. She should be wearing a jester hat because she's that much of a clown. And of course, we prey on the evil underlings in the mainstream media. Which, speaking of, today's video, the press. A worse disease than that one that gives you giganticism in your head. Which I clearly suffer from. Because rest assured, all the excuses they use for refusing to report on the corruption of the New South Wales government, that they don't like using the word corruption, that it's not substantiated, that it's conspiracy, financial transactions that happened, are on par with claiming that everyone in Australia is a crisis actor. As it should be, because both are clearly true. I vividly remember seeing Quentin play one of the runners in the Boston bombing. But it does turn out the press are more than capable of reporting on corruption, even using the word. They can even report on corruption that's so unsubstantiated that it doesn't have to exist. They can even be fully aware it doesn't exist and still report on it. In fact, unlike the corruption that we highlighted that has been confirmed over and over by ICAC, the corruption the press reports on can delve so far into conspiracy that it can be disproven by an anti-corruption body, and even then they'll report on it. Their standards for reporting on corruption are lower than Hugh Grant's choice in escorts, and the only caveat has to be, it has to be a Labor government committing it. Or not, and they'll pretend they are anyway. Look at what the Murdoch papers were pushing at around the time Nine Fairfax was trying to deify Gladys Berejiklian so that when she stepped down, she'd at least be with them in spirit. Anastasia Palaszczuk's goon squad raided the Office of Integrity Commissioner, seized laptops and wiped them!
Yeah, smashing laptops sounds like something Anastasia Palaszczuk would do. After all, she's bloody Queensland's Hillary Clinton, isn't she? Probably fucking eating pizza before in her life, eh?
You know how the Murdoch press always does that? You heard it here first at The Resistance, folks. Anthony Albanese is exactly like Joe Biden. Why? Because they both lost their minds. Yeah. Actually, that's not a fair characterization of the press's characterization of Anastasia Palaszczuk, as they blew up the leader's comparison of her to Putin. Fair. After all, her name's Anastasia. Personally, I don't think it's the right comparison, though. I mean, if Palaszczuk did order a smash and grab, wouldn't she be more like Michaela Cash's office ordering one on the AWU's headquarters? Oh, snap! Political reverse card! Or the guy that had dirt on Liberals using the Parliament's prayer room as a pad, and then the AFP took all his digital devices and, oh, no, sorry, just remembered, those stories involve the Liberals, and therefore, it's wild conspiracy. Sorry, I forgot the golden rule. As gold as this gold chocolate coin, and, oh, it's real. Oh well, can't stop me from swallowing it. I'm like a piggy bank. Like this video, if you can hear them swishing around in my tummy. Can I have another Patreon dollar?
I'm so hungry.
Want to know what the basis of this Russian, the Integrity Commission scandal the Murdoch press was trying to get going? And this isn't my opinion, by the way. This is the findings of Queensland's corruption watchdog. It was ordinary. So ordinary. Which again, not my words. That's how the report described this event. As ordinary as this living room. And oh no, that one has a ghost in it. It was a disagreement between workers in the Integrity Commissioner's office that may or may not have experienced, you ready for this? Bullying. Oh, why wasn't Lisa Wilkinson all over this one? It was your stock standard, garden variety office drama that you wouldn't care about if it was your office, where some of the people left as a result of the dispute and their laptops were recycled, because that's what happens in every office. Since the invention of laptops, you hand them in, they get wiped, and as they're getting wiped, you contemplate how deeply pointless your time at the office was, and by extension, your existence, and then you start having an existential crisis, and then it's punctured by the fact that, oh, I can't afford Boost juices with my lunch anymore, but you get another office job. It is that, as the report described, quote, wholly unremarkable. Or, as the Murdoch press reported it, then Palaszczuk's SWAT team smashed through the glass windows and there was a woman screaming. Ah! So one of the SWAT guys shot her in the head. Shut the fuck up! And then they used her skull to bash the laptops into a fine powder. And then the laptop powder flew everywhere and Bradley Cooper tried to snort it. All right, Queensland. Oh, yeah, well, that's Matthew McConaughey. Whatever, just someone is equally as famous as Matthew McConaughey. Peter Gleeson of the Courier Mail. Look at this beefy boy. My Boost juice with my lunch is blended up steak. Describing this story that he and his mates invented as evidence for why the Queensland government is, quote, rotten to the core. You just know he has this idea in his Cro-Magnon skull that me truth teller, society collapsed without me tell truth. How do you square that with you and your mates inventing thoroughly disproven corruption and evidence tampering allegations as a reason to re-elect the party of Sir Joe while invoking his name to tarnish his opposition? Talk about a party that's rotten to the core. The Fitzgerald report is famous to this day, some 30 years later, for what it detailed. I mean, for Christ's sake, this is a state government report, and it's had a longer stint in the spotlight than Burjo, and it's because the LNP still haven't cleaned up their act. The last time they were in for a term, one term, they decided to sack the entire Parliamentary Crime and Corruption Committee. That is way worse than smashing laptops, firing anyone that could use the f***ing laptops, and unlike the laptop smash story, it actually happened. But how did the Murdoch press report on that? Cliche sound effects. Not as good as Big Mama's House, but contender with Big Mama's House too. The Liberals didn't just sack the committee, they cut the corruption watchdog staff. I mean, people of the jury, I ask you, do these sound like the actions of a government with nothing to hide? No, that could have been me. Because if you said yes, I'm gonna get Palaszczuk to smash the f***ing phone you're watching this on. Don't make me come out of the screen. I will turn into the ring girl just to wring your f***ing neck. In contrast, do these sound like the actions of a government with something to hide? 14 recommendations recently handed down in a review by the CCC, of which Palaszczuk agreed to all of them. One of them even included reducing the time that cabinet papers be locked away from 30 years to 30 days. Fuck me. I'm all for transparency, but at some point it gets a little... That's a little too transparent. You want to know something that really contrasts these two governments? The Fitzgerald inquiry. Remember how I was just talking about that? Oh, you don't? Well, I know someone who's like Joe Biden, and it ain't Albo. Guess who she hired to make the CCC even stronger? Mr. Fitzgerald himself, the man who wrote the Fitzgerald report. These are the actions of a supposed government that is, quote, rotten to the core. The man that kept Queensland clean for 30 years took down one of the most corrupt governments in Australian history, and Palaszczuk asked him, hey, can you give my government even more scrutiny? Christ. No wonder the Murdoch press had to think, okay, so this reporting thing isn't working out. Let's just turn our newspapers in Queensland to Anastasia 2, the storybook, and she was a hero in that, wasn't she? Ah, well, now she's bad. If you loved M. Night Shyamalan, get ready for M. Night Murdoch. Endless airing of the current leader of the LNP and his deputy, which What is it with scummy deputies and wanting to impersonate Elvis? Look at him. Speedy Gibbage. How did he not get the starring role in Baz's new film?
Because it was Palisade that brought the filming of Elvis to Queensland, so you think I was gonna get a look in on that? This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about corruption, Mama. Thank you very much.
Fiona Simpson, she banned cameras from filming Parliament, and now she's the integrity spokeswoman for the LNP. It's like Vince Neil from the Motley Crue deciding that he's the band's manager for HR. She conducted no fewer than 20 media conferences in 17 days saying,
"This government appears to have put a spy into the Integrity Commissioner's office. That laptop was raided. It was cleansed."
None of these accusations were corrected. None of them revoked what they said. They just moved on to the next bullshit arc designed to attack Anastasia Palaszczuk's character. So, is it any wonder that whenever I do a video about how horrendously corrupt any Liberal government in the country is, take your pick, I'm inundated with all these geniuses in the comments, or even better, the ever-watchful council of neckbeards on Reddit mistaking their self-hatred for scrutiny, saying, "Friendly Jordy is okay at exposing the corruption of the Liberal Party, but he's very biased and will never expose the corruption of Labour. And it has to be because he's paid by Labour. Can I have some Reddit gold now, please, milady? Edit. Thanks for the Reddit gold, kind stranger." I mean, could your worldview be any more simplistic, wrong, and simultaneously reeking of someone who thinks they get it? It's always just assumed that, yeah, if one party's corrupt, then surely the other party is exactly the same. After all, I get it. I don't need any evidence for it, and if I do, I'll just Google search and post one of these articles or one of the many outlets that mindlessly regurgitate whatever's in the Murdoch press that day, and then be repeated on the news that night. Look, at least when Rock Bottom got swept up in baseless allegations, they had the guts to say,
"We members of the press sometimes make mistakes. Rock Bottom would like to make the following corrections."
Rock Bottom, a fictional sleazy outlet called Rock Bottom, has more integrity than those accusing the Premier of having no integrity. As the Integrity Commission report identified, the failure of the news to correct the confusion and misinformation may continue to erode public confidence. People always focus on Abraham Lincoln's last line that you can't fool all the people all of the time. What they should focus on is his statement just before that, which is that you can fool some of the people all of the time. The press has multiple narratives running across multiple outlets, all running simultaneously to hit different demographics, and as Rudd said, all these lies that not everyone believes, but a small subset very strongly believe one of them, all scrape another layer of paint off of Labor until they collapse and are replaced with people pretending to be a government, just like they repeatedly pretend to be f***ing Elvis. Having said that though, like this video if you genuinely think Baz Luhrmann made a massive mistake in not casting the Deputy Liberal Leader of Queensland, Jared Bleegey, as Elvis. Thank you very much.
Please share and comment below. Come on.